Okay, let's go to the third cause of extinguishment, or the mode to extinguish obligation, which is condonation. What is condonation? Condonation is also known as remission of debt. It is the gratuitous abandonment of debt by the creditor. What is gratuitous? Gratuitous is something without payment, or something which is liberality of the person, or it's free. So it's a, the debtor abandon it interest, without interest in collecting the money from the debtor. Now the creditor made his abandonment, and he's no longer interested in collecting the money from the debtor. So this is also known as the forgiveness of the obligation. Okay, this is done by the creditor who either expressly, meaning say it, or impliedly forgives the debtor in paying the obligation. So the cause of or consideration of forgiving is due to the creditor's liberality or generosity. So that's what I've said a while ago. Liberality of the debtor, the creditor. Debtor is required to express his acceptance. So if the debtor does not accept it, so it's not a valid condonation. Condonation also applies to solidarity obligations. If you recall, solidarity obligations, there are two or more debtors or two or more creditors. So I have given here an example. A and B are indebted to Y and Z for 1 million pesos solidarily. So, meaning solidarity, if Y is going to collect from A on the date of maturity, then A should pay 1 million pesos. Yeah? Because the amount is solidarily. That's why it's called solidarity obligation. Or if Z will collect from A then has to pay 1 million pesos. No? Now, if Y, the creditor, one of the creditors, condones the debt of A, let's say Y won the lottery, 50 million jackpot, and he went to A. Oh, A, I am now forgiving your debt of 1 million pesos. So in this case, the whole amount is remitted or condoned. Therefore, the obligation of A and B are already extinguished. No? So what about Z? Where should Z claim his money? Because Y was the one who condoned the debt or remitted the debt, then Z can demand his share of the 1 million from Y. Of 1 million from Y. So we go to the fourth mode of extinguishing obligation, and that is compensation. When is there compensation? By the way, this is also known as set off. So there is set off or a compensation when two persons, is missing two here, two persons in their own right are debtors and creditors to each other. Okay? So meaning the debtor and the creditor are both debtor and creditor to each other. Let's say, for example, Ben is indebted to Cha for 50,000, while Cha is indebted to Ben for 60,000 pesos. Okay? Can they set off or compensate these two obligations? The answer is yes, if they both agreed. Is this a total compensation? The answer is no. Yeah? It's only partial because the amounts involved here are not equal. So there is total compensation when it is both 60,000 pesos. So this is only partial and the compensation affected. So if it is affected, then Cha still owes Ben 10,000 pesos. Okay? That is compensation. Then we have confusion or merger of rights. What are these mode, or what is this mode? So it occurs when the traits of the debtor and the creditor are merged in one person. So meaning the characteristics of the debtor and the creditor are merged in one person. So the same person becomes debtor and creditor to himself. No? He's the debtor and creditor to himself. Can this be possible? The answer is yes. For example, Jam issues a bill of exchange for 20,000 pesos to Ken. So bill of exchange is the same as the same effect as a check. No? I would say checky. After a while, Ken endorsed the bill to Lou. So after receiving the bill of exchange, Mr. Ken here endorsed the bill to Lou. Then on one hand, Lou paid his debt to Jam. So Lou has also indebted to Jam for 20,000 pesos. So he endorsed the same bill of exchange to Jam because bill of exchange can be negotiated by endorsement. So now the bill of exchange is in the hands of Jam. So it's now back to the person who issued the bill of exchange. So Jam now becomes the same creditor and same debtor of the same obligation. So I'll show you an illustration here. Jam here issued a bill of exchange to Ken, and Ken endorsed to the bill of exchange to Lou. Lou was indebted to Jam, so he paid and gave the bill of exchange back to Jam. So Jam now is in possession of the same bill of exchange. So in that case, the obligation of Jam is extinguished. No? Because Jam becomes the holder of the instrument she previously issued. Therefore, the traits of the debtor and creditor are merged in herself, the person of Jam. And the last mode is novation. Now, there are three types of novation, namely, changing the object of the obligation. So object, this is example here, C is indebted to Val for 40,000 pesos. Now on due date, C offered to pay his debt by delivering his Canon DSLR camera worth 50,000 pesos. And the moment Val agrees and accepts the camera, then C's obligation is extinguished. So that is changing the object of the obligation, this novation. Yeah? So what do you think is the same as novation? Anybody knows? It has been discussed a while ago, and that is correct. That's shown in Pago. Yeah? Novation is the same as dation in payment. Check it out. So another mode of or type of novation is substituting the person of the debtor. So the same debtor C, in our example, is indebted to Val for 40,000. Now another person, Mr. Kuko, is indebted to C for the same amount. So Kuko here is indebted to C. So C and Kuku agreed that Kuku will pay Val on due date. So C there agreed that, hey Kuku, I will no longer collect from you. Instead, you pay your debt to, instead of paying me, you pay Val. Okay. So there are three persons involved here. Kuko is indebted to C is indebted to Val. Instead of collecting the money from Kuko, C will no longer collect, then Val will now collect from Kuko, or Kuko will pay Val without C's involvement. So as a result, the obligation of C is therefore extinguished. No, the obligation of C to Val is extinguished. So that is substituting the person of the debtor, because C is the debtor. The third type of novation is subrogating the rights of the creditor. So the person of the creditor here is being replaced by another person. So the same example, or debtor creditor C indebted to Val for 40,000. On the other hand, Val is indebted to Yo for the same amount. So this time it is the creditor who is indebted to Yo, another person. So what do you think will happen here? In order that the person of Val, who's the creditor, is replaced by another person. So C here will pay 40,000 directly to Yo and no longer to Val. So the new creditor now is Yo. So C now is indebted to Yo. So instead of collecting the amount from C, Mr. Val offered Yo that he will now collect the amount directly from C. So therefore, Yo now is the new creditor of C. So what is extinguished here? Whose obligation? Obligation of Val to Yo. So Val's obligation to Yo is extinguished. Okay. Those are the different modes of extinguishing obligations. If you have any clarifications or questions, again, you just email me at Maceren and macerenlaw@gmail.com. And this is the last installment of the obligation subtopic of obligation. The next topic will be contracts. Bye-bye.